right, welcome back in. Zach Gelb Show, Fox Sports 920 The Jersey. We're live on location today in New York City, getting ready for the Sweet 16 games tonight at the world's most famous arena, Madison Square Garden. And what we're going to do right now, we're going to talk some NCAA tournament hoops and also going to talk some Rutgers basketball with the head honcho at Rutgers University for their basketball program. That's the head coach of the Scarlet Knights, and Steve Pikiell, who's kind enough to hop on board with us right now. Coach Pikiell, appreciate a few minutes, and how are you, my friend?
Hey, Zach, I appreciate you having me on, and you know what? I'm doing terrific. I love this time of the year.
It's a great time of the year, and we'll go back and have you reminisce a little bit about your UConn days and what you're hoping to build here at Rutgers and try to get Rutgers in the NCAA tournament. But let me first start you off with this, because I just saw it come across my newsfeed about 25, 30 minutes ago. Nigel Johnson, who transferred over from Kansas State, played this year with the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. You guys granted his release, and he's going to be transferring. Your reaction to Nigel Johnson's decision?
Yeah, terrific. I mean, I'm excited for Nigel. He graduated, and now, the NCAA allows, the players to, explore their options after they graduate. I'm happy and thankful for his efforts, and, I'm excited that he's going to explore some other opportunities to try to finish up his career. So, we wish him well and a lot of respect and thankful that he gave us a great year this year.
He's a special player for you because he was a part of this journey in your first year as the head coach of the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. Even though he's leaving, how do you try to help a kid like that, since you know him so well, when he's trying to make a decision to move on from the university?
Yeah, I'm just, you come to school to get a degree, and I'm just very thankful, that he's receiving his degree, and, he worked hard this year and, has an opportunity because of the grad transfer rule to, explore. So we always want to help our guys and support them, in whatever they decide to do. And as we're building this program here, probably going to be, so a lot of decisions like this down the road. And the kids have a lot of opportunities now to transfer. So I think it's one of those things where you always try to help all the players that you have, and you're especially proud of the ones that graduate and have done a great job for you.
Talking about help, I also saw that Corey Sanders, who's a guard for your basketball team, he declared for the draft, but he's not going to sign an agent, and he still has a chance to still come back to Rutgers, and I would anticipate that he doesn't end up going through with this and he comes back. But for you, in terms of that, as that's more of a newer rule, not that long into this rule, how do you help a kid make that decision when it comes to, do you come back for another year or do you go to the pros?
What I really think is, kids have a lot of decisions now that they can make. All these rules have been granted, for kids to explore and kids to be able to transfer and play right away. So the kids have a lot of different opportunities to do that. You just try to, sit down with each and every kid and just go over the pros and cons, to all their, efforts. And they have the ability now to test the waters. And, for Corey, he wants that opportunity. And I think it's a real positive thing. It's a positive thing for Corey. It's positive for our program. And, again, it's just another rule that every school is up against, that they give these kids these opportunities, and they're able to do that. So we encourage it, and we just hope that they make great decisions moving forward.
Step one of the rebuilding process this past season, you guys won 15-8, won 3 games in the Big Ten. And I know people, they look at a 15-18 season, and usually you don't say, oh, that's a successful season. But for you guys, I thought this was a very successful year. I know there's still a lot of work to do, but how do you evaluate the season that you guys just had?
Yeah, whenever you build a program, and I've been really fortunate, I've been able to, be a part of builds and a lot of my stops. I really was excited about some of the things we were able to implement this year. Obviously, I'm the 5th coach in 11 years, so we got a lot of work to do, with our program to get it to where, I'm not talking to you on a day like this. I'm actually coaching on the sidelines, on a day late in March. So, I was very pleased. I thought, we learned a lot. I think our staff did a really good job, and I think my team played hard and learned how to compete in the best league in the country. And as I go through this and college basketball, night in and night out, the Big Ten has some of the best teams in the country. And 7 made it to the tournament this year. 3 made it into the round of the Sweet 16. And I think the teams that finished above us were all bubble teams, NCAA bubble teams. So it's a great league. I think we came a long way. We got a long way to go. But I love the fan support. I love the university. I love the potential of where Rutgers basketball can be. And it's just going to be a little bit of a process here as we move through some of these transitions.
Coach, I have to take you back a little bit on your answer. You're telling me if you're in the Sweet 16, you're not coming on the show right before you play that Sweet 16 game? I'm a little bit offended by that.
Listen, I'll be on at halftime if you want me to. I'll be the happiest coach going.
We'll take that. Coach Steve Pikiell with us. Since you're in that rebuilding process and you're a man that's had a lot of success and you look back at Stony Brook and you look at your background and what you were able to do when you were a player at UConn and then also an assistant coach, take me a little bit more in depth about your philosophy, because sometimes you also have to change perception, and there's a lot of doubters when it comes to Rutgers basketball, but a lot of people say you're the right man for the job. So how are you going to turn this thing around, and give me a little bit more about your philosophy?
Well, I think, we started building this program. I have a terrific athletic director, Pat Hobbs, who has been right by my side, and the whole way. We were able to first, recruit the players that were in the program and get them to play the way that we wanted to every day, compete, play defense, rebound, and do those things. We were able to assemble a staff of terrific coaches with tremendous experience. Carl Hobbs has been in the business a long time from UConn. Brandon Knight, a terrific coach at Pittsburgh and a player, and Jay Young, a terrific coach with me at Stony Brook and had been a head coach too at various stops. And we were able to, I think energize the fan base by the way we played. The students came out. I mean, I can't tell you how excited I am about the student involvement, in the program. And, I think our players got better as the year went on. And that's how we're going to build this. We're going to build it, with the players, with everyone involved. It takes everyone to build a basketball program. And I've been a part of a lot of these builds, and whether it be UConn or whether it was George Washington University, it takes everyone. The environment at the RAC, just tremendous this year. And, again, our players, they have to do the hard work. And we got a bunch of hard-working players, to come together and help raise us from 7 wins to 15, from 1 win in the Big Ten to 4 wins. And we got a long ways to go because it's a great league. But we started moving it in that direction, and we're going to continue working daily to make it a great program that people can be proud of.
How do you get a recruit to buy into this investment right now?
I'm excited because I think people watched this year and they saw the improvement. They saw the improvement of our program. They saw the improvement of our players. It's a great university. So we're talking about one of the elite public schools in the country playing in one of the greatest leagues in the country, national TV, sellout games, the RAC being packed. We're building a brand new practice facility, which is going to be state-of-the-art, as nice as there is in the country. And I will tell you, playing time, quite honestly. Kids want to play. They want to play right away. And I'm really excited about the excitement that recruits are showing in us as we continue to move this program, forward. And we proved to people this year that we're getting this thing going in the right direction. And I think some recruits have taken notice.
We're talking to Coach Pikiell right now. Coach, let me take you back to your playing days. And in your NCAA tournaments, you had that close 1-point victory against Clemson. You lost to Duke in overtime by a point, and then also the following year, you also lost to Duke. Hate to bring up those painful memories, but when you look back at the NCAA tournament after all these years, what are those memories that are still with you from those UConn teams?
Well, I will tell you, and I was part of Coach Calhoun's first, recruiting class, and to be a part of tournaments, and when UConn wasn't looked at before he took the job as a NCAA tournament kind of caliber program. But I think about the NCAA tournament. I dream about having our players experience the thrill of, playing in the tournament and achieving that goal, that I was fortunate enough to be able to play in. And as you mentioned, a couple of those bad memories, only to Duke. I see that jersey sometimes on TV, and I think back the last 2 years, they were the team that knocked us out. And obviously that's a great program. But, I hope to get, our program to the point where we go to the NCAA tournament and we're able to win games and compete against all those programs.
And I know it was early on in UConn with Coach Calhoun, and we know how much of a legend he is, but you always want to win those games. After a loss, especially a loss in the NCAA tournament, and that's always a tough spot because you know that team won't be the same for next year. You have some seniors going. You have some other guys leaving the program for a bunch of different reasons and whatnot. What did Coach Calhoun say to you guys after those 20 losses that were definitely tough?
He took losses as hard as anybody, and but I just think there's times you have special teams, that all come together. And, I just can remember a few of his after season speeches and just him being thankful for the hard work that it took to get to those places. And also reminding us that at the end of all this, only one team in the country is happy. It's the final team standing on the last day. So no matter where you go in that tournament, there's only one team truly that's happy about the way that they hang up their uniforms. And we weren't ever that team that got there when I was there, but eventually, after I had left, UConn got back to those places. And I just can remember Coach Calhoun thanking the players that came before those players and said it was the hard work that you guys did that got the ball rolling here for us to be able to win, a national championship. And I was at a few of them that they won and really, took a lot of pride in being part of the program that kind of started it rolling there.
And I was talking to Coach Mitch Henderson because we are in the Princeton area, and Princeton had a remarkable season this past year, going undefeated in the Ivy. And he played at Princeton, and we all know the remarkable upset they had when Princeton took down UCLA many years ago. And after he clinched that ticket and punched it to the NCAA tournament, I asked him a little bit about the feeling it was as a player compared to a coach, and he said it was a little bit more rewarding as a coach because all of the work that you put in and all the men that you are leading. You got to experience that NCAA tournament as a player and also a coach as well, an assistant at UConn, and then while you're at Stony Brook. How does that feeling compare going to the tourney as a coach compared to going to it when you were a player?
Yeah, I mean, as a coach, you just feel like there's so many more people involved, in that whole process. And when you take a school to, a tournament, it's the administrators, it's the presidents, it's the band members, it's the dance team, it's the cheerleaders. You really feel excited for all the people, and you realize truly as a coach that it takes all of them to get you to that place. As a player, you celebrate it with your team. You don't realize the hard work that everyone else puts in, the assistant coaches, families, all the sacrifices and all the, days on the road traveling to recruit some of these players. So, I really think as a coach, there's no greater feeling. And, the alumni base, and the excitement that people feel is just unmatched, anywhere. So they're both great feelings, but I think I appreciate those, opportunities now because I know how much work and how much dedication goes into, receiving those rewards of playing in the NCAA tournament by everybody associated with your program.
Steve Pikiell with us right now, wrapping up with the head coach of Rutgers basketball. Since they're in the Big Ten, the run that Michigan went on, just how about that run? I know it ended yesterday as they lose by 1 point, but that was an unbelievable display of basketball in this NCAA tournament by Michigan, especially with the circumstances they had to overcome.
Coach Beeline, one of the great coaches in college basketball, and the run that they went on. And I really think our league prepares, teams for those kind of runs because night in and night out, you're playing Maryland and you're playing Iowa, and you're playing Ohio State, and you're playing Northwestern and teams like that. And, Michigan really just came together. They're great senior guard, Walton, shooters at every position. And, they play unselfishly. They really rebounded the ball. And when they shoot the ball, it's a thing of beauty. So a heck of a run. And even yesterday, what a, great game. Sorry to see them lose because I'm rooting for all the teams in our league. But they had a tremendous run, and a lot of those guys are coming back too, so that team's going to be good for a while.
Coach, enlighten me a little bit from a coaching perspective, and maybe it has to do a little bit with the mentality of a player seeing what the Golden State Warriors have become and the way that they shoot a lot of three-pointers over the last few years. But we saw 3 times yesterday teams take three-pointers late in games when they didn't have to. You saw it in the Michigan game. You saw it in the Xavier-Arizona game, and you also saw it in the West Virginia game. Why are you see a lot more teams now taking threes and deep threes late in games when they don't need to?
I mean, I think a lot of times, kids step on the court now and they shoot threes. I mean, the mid-range game is a lost art. Get to the basket is becoming a lost art. And, I think late in games, and you see all the highlights of teams, and with no timeouts, coaches can't remind them of the game and the score without a timeout. And you really have to have some players on the floor that know how to manage the clock and know how to manage game, situations at the end. And timeout's very valuable. So when you do see teams without them, you usually see teams, launching threes. And you could see that a little bit yesterday. I will tell you, too, defenses are real good nowadays, and teams are well scouted. And, they'll take away things, too. But, you saw a lot of that yesterday, and see teams win the game by the 3, too. I always say, you win it and you die by the 3, and you'll remember the times that you make them, and the times that you don't are heartbreaking.
Wrapping up with Coach Steve Pikiell, who joins us right now. Coach, a game that I'm going to see later tonight at Madison Square Garden, Wisconsin and Florida. We know Michael White's a really good coach for Florida after having a nice little run at La Tech before getting that Florida job in Wisconsin. You're very familiar with them, just a team of so much experience. What do you think that game comes down to tonight, Coach?
Well, I tell you, obviously, I'm a big fan of Wisconsin. I mean, they're so experienced, and they're going to play at a pace. And I say this all the time when I talk about them. That's hard to get them out of. They walk the ball up. They have all good passers. They're big and strong. They play in gaps defensively. It's a hard kind of game to get them to speed up and get up and down the court. And especially with one day, sometimes you have one day prep, especially in these NCAA tournaments, to prepare, for them. And Florida is a team that's going to try to play at their pace. So the Nigel Hayeses of the world, they have go-to guys for Wisconsin. They can throw the ball into half. Bronson is as good a three-point shooter as there is in the country. And I always said at the end of games, if you have one player that you could go to score a basket, that's like you're excited about that. If you have two different guys you could go to, that's like very rare. And to have 3 guys, so at the end of any game, they could throw it inside, they could post you up mid-range with Hayes, or they can go with Bronson on the perimeter. You got like a lot of guys you have to stop at the end of the game. So it'll be a great game. They've all been great games, but Coach White has done an unbelievable job in his short tenure. Florida, they're going to try to play, fast and up-tempo, and, Wisconsin's going to try to play their pace. So it'll be interesting. It really will be.
You guys obviously played Wisconsin twice this year. The first time it was a little lopsided, but at the second time you guys went to overtime and lost the game 61-54. And you look at the stat sheet back at that game, Nigel Hayes had 7 points and Koenig had 10 points. Just with that, with all that being said and the adjustments you made, and I understand Happen in that game was brilliant, having 32 points, and he was sensational for that team. But specifically with Hayes and Koenig, what did you guys do that game up against those 2 players to hold them to a combined 17 points? Coach, is a pretty darn good coaching job, I may say.
Yeah, well, you know what? We really tried to do a terrific job of pressuring Bronson all over the court and making sure he got no clean looks at the basket. Nigel, was a guy we really loaded up on. He hurt us in the first game. He got to the foul line a tremendous amount of time. So we tried to take away some of his posts by doubling down and digging down in the post when he caught the ball, and really tried to make him, be a jump shooter. So we focused obviously a lot on those 2 guys, and then Hap was able to be one-on-one coverage in the post. And, he kind of had a good field day against us, in the post. So we took away 2 of their options, and the third one got us. And that's why I think they're such a difficult team. They don't turn the ball over, so you're not going to get free points, at any point in time. And they're a veteran team they've been to the tournament. They've been in this tournament before. They've been, in these bright lights, and I think that's where they have their advantage, that they've been around and they've been in these big games too. So we tried to take away those two things. We didn't take away the third, and obviously lost the game in overtime.
Coach, last one before we let you run. Everyone's waiting for this UCLA-Kentucky game tonight. From a coaching perspective, I just can't wait for this one, and I know that we're going to see this for round 2 this year. Last time UCLA got the victory, and they had a lot of players go for double figures up against Calipari's squad. But who do you like tonight, and what do you think this game comes down to, Coach?
You know, I'm excited about this game just as a pure basketball fan. You know, to watch Alonzo Ball and the UCLA team and how they score and get up and down. And I just he makes the game look so easy. But then I watch Kentucky, and I love Malik Monk, and I mean the excitement that he plays with and his abilities. I really think this is a little bit of a you pick 'em game. I'm going with Kentucky, but that's not to say that UCLA won't be right there at the end of this game. And I think Kentucky's been there. Coach Cal does an unbelievable job, and obviously Steve Alford's one of the best coaches too in the country. But I just think having been there and having some guys, on the floor, and Kentucky's used to that, I'll give Kentucky the nod.
Coach, since you like Monk so much, I know that a lot of Sixer fans listen to us, and they hope that Monk is going to be a Sixer next year. How do you think his game will translate to the pros?
Oh, I think he's a pro in college right now. Scoring is at a premium in the NBA, and I think he's just one of those guys that he's just going to score, and he can score in a lot of different ways, and he's an exciting guy. He's athletic. He's got all the tools, and I think he'll score in the NBA at an elite level.
Coach, we appreciate the time. Thanks so much. Enjoy the games.
Yes, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.